area actually, but this was the material I picked for this presentation here. And also I had a very informal conversation like survey with the teachers who were following the workshop and how they felt, what was the impact among the students. And these are the questions I was using with the students. What were their overall experiences and feelings about the creating and introducing their own emotional maps? Did they find their method useful for their future studies? And what were the disadvantages? And did they find making the map comfortable or uncomfortable? And how did they find listening to other group member stories? And these are samples from the answers they were giving. That afterwards, one of my conclusions from this experience was that the originality of an honest personal story always evokes interest. At least that is what my classmates' stories did for me. So not only what they found from their own lives, it also what they heard their fellow students telling to others. So very often what happened actually was that the group of the student writers became more solid. They started to understand each other more than before. And of course, some of them were telling that I was not 100% comfortable doing it, but I was 100% willing to do it. So there was this barrier, emotional barrier, that they felt it uncomfortable. They found it uncomfortable, but they knew that somehow that this is something they need to do, which was very interesting answer actually. Some of them were giving also very good ideas how to develop the exercise. So that, for example, this student was giving advice that maybe it's good to create one map for yourself and one for yourself which is private and one which you can have a presentation. And one student actually brought me an idea that I have to speak more about or bring in the beginning of the workshop this speak about safe space and brave space before we start the workshop, so that with the students, actually, we should create a safe space where we can share our experiences and important moments from our lives, so that we create the rules together. And that's what I have been doing later on also, that we create the rules of the safe space with the students before we start, after my own presentation. But I also kind of encourage them, so that after we have created the safe space, we also start to discuss that what could be the rules for brave space, so that Ara and Clemens have written that the brave space actually is much more important, so that so that for example, when we are creating art, so that we are not just hiding behind the illusion of safety. So the brave space for a writer, I think this is very important, so that we are able to go as deep as needed to find interesting material and process it to a film script. So the results were that almost without exceptions, all the ideas the students were presenting, they were personal, unique, and dramatic. Uh, uh, and this was also important to see that quite many of them found, they told that they had found such ideas they would not have come to think about alone. So the ideas had been so close to them that they never, that's what they thought, that they never could have been able to think about themselves. That they didn't realize that they had such an story ideas so close to them. And our discussions were more about the original conflicts and what they represent thematically, and not that much we were talking about dramaturgy. But when they started to write, it was, for me, that was my observation, that it was more easy to talk about dramaturgy and character development, because they already knew the characters, and they knew the conflict and what was the conflict about and what could be the story. They kind of started to write from real life and turn it to fiction. And of course, the students in groups learned to know each other in a new way. And they also, all the time, many times, they were encouraging each other. Take that story. This is so interesting. And sometimes, many times, the student himself didn't realize it. But when the others were encouraging, they started to process that particular story. The other students actually many times understood the value of certain revelations and stories they were telling the other students. And of course, the students also gave ideas how I can develop the exercise. And the conclusions that we teachers should support students more to look at their own life experiences and learn to cultivate them in their learning. The teachers should show also an example, because we are the teachers, we have our own life experiences, and so it's good if we can open ourselves first to the students. It helps them to understand, and it shows example for them. And about the safe places and brave places, that's nowadays especially, it's extremely important that we discuss about this kind of things. So well, that was it. It was more than 20 minutes, but I hope you.
I think we enjoyed very much.
Yeah, yes. And one thing I would like to also say is that that I little bit challenge the Michael Hawke's saying that our own lives are not so interesting. I can bring it here somewhere. because I think when I have been working with the students, I really I really don't agree because with Hawk that I think we all have experiences which we can develop to a very interesting stories and stories. It depends on how to look at them.